Hey, everybody. It is Sunday, and I have a quick devotional thought for you. Don't bet against God. Don't bet against God. Now, you might have heard of a football player named Tom Brady, and I remember people saying that about him last year. Don't bet against Tom Brady, because last year he was really old and he still is really old. And they had a hard path to the Super Bowl and it didn't look like they were going to win. And there were all these reasons why people were betting that Tom Brady would lose, but they won the Super Bowl. And I heard a couple commentators say that don't bet ever against Tom Brady. I think that's definitely true about God. Don't bet against God. Don't bet against him. In 1 Samuel 10 through 11, we see this play out. Because in 1 Samuel 10, Saul, a man named Saul, is chosen to be king of Israel. And Saul is kind of a coward. He is not bold. He is not courageous. He is not brave. He's afraid. But God in his spirit come on Saul and give him strength. And he is able to do amazing things. But as soon as God's spirit leaves Saul again, Saul becomes a coward again, and he hides away from the things that God's calling him to do. Now, in chapter 11, though, there's a man named Nahash the Ammonite. And Nahash the Ammonite is a bad guy, and he attacks Saul's people, Israel. And Nahash the Ammonite looks like he's unstoppable. And Saul, he's this little coward guy. He's afraid. I wouldn't bet on Saul beating the really strong Nahash the Ammonite. But guess what happens? God's spirit comes on Saul, and Saul becomes really strong, and he becomes this great leader, and he unites all of Israel, and they go and they attack Nahash the Ammonite, and he puts together this great plan to defeat the enemy. And through God's power, Israel defeats Nahash the Ammonite and his army, and they're okay. Now, if you took a bet before that battle on who would win, Saul or Nahash, you better put your money on Nahash. However, God was with Saul. God gave Saul strength, and you don't want to bet against God. So when we are in situations where it's not looking good, when we are depressed, or when we are going through a difficult time, or we have a friend who are wondering, God, why haven't you helped this person yet? Or when something is going on in the world that's scary, don't bet against God. God will have his will done. God will come through victorious. So we put our faith in him, and we're okay through faith in him. And the last thing I'll say is think about Jesus. Jesus literally died. It would be very easy to bet against Jesus and to bet against God after God the Son died. But even then, you don't want to bet against God. He rose from the dead. So we can put our faith in Jesus, and we can know that God will take care of us. Don't bet against God. Y'all have a great rest of your week. God bless.